Hello, I'm Josep Pardo from Universitat Politècnica de Valencia. We start this course with an introductory subject to the study's dynamism of coastal spaces using remote sensing. The theme is divided into 3 parts. These are the contents of the topic that will remain divided, as I say, into 3 parts. In this first, we will focus our attention to those marked in bold. One of the most important features of coastal areas is that they are extremely changeable. This is largely due to the fact that the coast is defined as the border between the land and the sea, that is, in a solid space and another liquid which, therefore, moves. By observing the multispectral image from this beach on the French Atlantic coast over several days, we will appreciate how the limit moves. So, here we see the position of the shoreline on the 6th September of 2019. 10 days later, at low tide, is recognized a wide wet area on the beach, and as the shore has shifted offshore again. 10 days later, with a higher sea level and with waves of higher energy as evidence the foam that is formed when breaking the waves along the shore, the coastline has moved to the continent due to these changes at the water level. These changes, however, are not only associated with variations at the level of the water. On the beaches can produce changes fairly fast in their morphology due to displacements of the loose sediments, sand and gravel. This example shows how it has been changing throughout of the same year the coastline on this beach due to removal of a groin perpendicular to the coastline. These kinds of changes can be the result of interaction of different natural or human agents acting on different spatial temporal scales. One second key feature of coastal areas is which is largely occupied by different societies. For these societies, the coast is a key resource and sometimes may be a risk. Some dates prove that deep occupation by societies. Approximately 40% of the world's population live less of 100 kilometers from the coast, and, in the European Union case, 40% we do less than 50 kilometers. And as the graph shows, that proportion is increasing. It is estimated that 10% of the world's population lives at heights below 10 meters above sea level, what's known as low-lying coastal areas. It's a parameter that estimates the areas that may suffer flood hazard from being close to shore. Well, as can be seen from the graph, the proportion that lives in those areas, it's going up. On the other hand, as we have said, the coasts cannot only be a risk, but also a resource. In much of the planet, the beaches are a key resource for tourism development. We see here a paradigmatic example of maximum occupancy for tourist use. It is one of the beaches of Benidorm on the Spanish Mediterranean coast, and the case of Benidorm is not in fact isolated, as demonstrates this image recorded by the Sentinel-2 satellite in the Mediterranean region. The tourism industry has favored the development of new and large urbanized areas along the coast. And one third key feature of coastal areas is their enormous and particular ecological wealth. The fact of being a border space between the sea and the land causes singular environments with salt waters, loose materials moved by the wind and waves, as well as extensive wetlands that are nesting and protection areas for migratory birds. All this allows the development of particular ecosystems, many of which become true sanctuaries of nature. These coastal environments, and particularly the beaches, are being progressively subjected to direct associated risks or indirectly to human action. We are referring to, obviously, climate change that has a global impact on a planetary scale. But in addition to climate change, there are many other human actions acting at local or regional level which may also pose a risk. These risks that we are talking about can pose a danger for the natural environment itself, but above all, a danger to societies, we differentiate three major risk groups that will affect to these coastal environments: pollution and proliferation of harmful algal, the coastal floods and coastal erosion. Coastal water pollution is an obvious environmental damage which affects the ecological richness of these environments. But it also damages the fisheries and tourism resources that are key to societies living by the sea. Changes in the quality of water can help the development and expansion of harmful algal that, as evidence image taken by Landsat 8 satellite, may affect to wide geographical areas. One of the most obvious dangers that can affect low areas near to the coast are coastal flooding. When seawater penetrates the mainland, these waters can cause damage to infrastructure, inhabited zones, and also in immediate agricultural areas where the damage can be persistent due to the salt effects. We show here how after a strong coastal storm the marine waters entered the rice fields of the delta of the river Ebro. In this image we see the situation just before the storm. In this second image, recorded when it was ending the storm, we can see the huge surface which was covered by the waters. The third type of risk relates to coastal erosion. This is particularly important in beach areas, especially when there is a high human occupation and the loss of beaches prevents their playful use or directly affects the infrastructure. This type of risk, although it becomes more evident during coastal storms related to phenomena of sedimentary shortages in a coastal stretch. It is a phenomenon that evidences progressively and, in some cases, may lead to disappearance complete of the beach. And this would be all for now. Thank you very much, and we ended up here, this first video.